These athletes who we think of as like very strong and very successful, and in many cases very tough, they in fact are also grappling with mental health.
Being able to remove some of the stigma that may come from a male athlete thinking about therapy and saying to themselves, why would I start at ground zero? This guy or this girl doesn't understand what it's like to be an athlete. This guy doesn't understand the pressures or the feelings or the time constraints.
A lot of kids may not want to go and sit in an office and talk to someone. Capturing their attention, and by being part of a team, by being a part of a group, and doing it in a way that can be fun is, I think, how we have sort of changed the game.
The world is evolving. The problems we're facing are too big to be solved by any organization alone. A lot is uncertain, but one thing is for sure, change is coming. And the voices you've just heard are the people driving it, entrepreneurial leaders. Welcome to From Problems to Possibilities, Entrepreneurial Leadership in Action, presented by Babson College. On this podcast, we'll meet the entrepreneurial leaders in the Babson community and beyond who are working on solving some of the world's biggest problems with the passion and skills that the world needs today. How does an entrepreneurial leader look at a problem and then get to the solution? I'm your host, Maddie Poirier, and together we'll go from problems to possibilities.
It's just not victory on the podium, it's victory, all the things that she's had to endure and overcome.
If you watched the Paris Olympics in 2024, it was hard to miss the coverage on sports and mental health, specifically the amazing comeback story of Simone Biles, who became the most decorated Olympic gymnast of all time after withdrawing from the Tokyo Games due to mental health issues in 2020. The narrative around sports and mental health requires nuance, and the specific situations matter greatly. For example, in the world of elite athletes, a study conducted by the International Olympic Committee in 2019 found that up to 35% have mental health concerns. The intense pressure to perform and achieve perfection can often be a contributing factor to depression or anxiety. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, a widely cited 2019 study by the NIH noted that sports often has a net positive outcome on mental health in adults. And for kids, sports are generally accepted as something with positive outcomes on mental health, grades, physical health, and social-emotional growth. However, as kids' sports become more specialized and intense, sometimes mental health issues emerge even in these arenas. In this episode, we'll speak with 3 entrepreneurial leaders, each at the intersection of sports and mental health, who are creating access to mental health resources and provoking conversations surrounding it. First, an entrepreneurial leader in philanthropy who is helping organizations secure grants to do life-saving work, a Babson alum and CEO of a nonprofit that has reached over 1 million kids with group mental health services through sports, and a Babson alum and former basketball player whose nonprofit supports mental health services for college and elite athletes. Now, on From Problems to Possibilities, the mind on sports.
So first of all, just a big exhale. Shake out a little bit if you need to. And then inhale, 2, 3, 4. Now hold your breath, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2.
Beth Brown, heard here leading her team in a box breathing exercise, is the managing director for mental health and well-being of the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation. The foundation, which is headquartered in Atlanta, was founded by Arthur M. Blank, a renowned entrepreneur and philanthropist who is best known as the co-founder of the Home Depot. Currently, he owns and operates the Blank family of businesses, which includes the NFL's Atlanta Falcons, MLS's Atlanta United, PGA Tour Superstore, and Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. An alumnus of Babson, he's the benefactor of the Blank School for Entrepreneurial Leadership and also the chairman of the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation. The foundation has 5 key focuses, and mental health and well-being is one of them. Our guest Beth leads this part of the foundation in its efforts to support organizations via grant funding that are providing mental health resources and support to their communities. She's got deep expertise in this area, from asset management to national policy to purpose-driven leadership. But today, we wanted to speak with Beth specifically about how the foundation is working to advance support for entrepreneurial leaders in the area of mental health in sports, and why she believes the connection between the two is important.
100% of us have mental health. So we often think about, when you mention mental health, people think about a mental health challenge. But just like all of us have health, mental health is on a spectrum from being in deep crisis to being really healthy and flourishing. And I think what we're pleased about is that there's a growing awareness of mental health challenges. I mean, I know when I was growing up, like, no one would say that they were going to a therapist. It was deeply stigmatized. And I think when you go through a community or a collective crisis, there's an awareness of, well, we all just went through something that impacted our mental health. And I think COVID really opened that up. We were all going through this social isolation and noticed the impact on our mental health, especially among young people. And so we talked about it more. There's the stigma reduction around talking about mental health. But that stigma reduction is not even. It's not even by gender. It's not even by race. And so it's not like we say, like, great, we've won that battle around stigma reduction. And as we've been thinking about our role, what could we invest in to create broader narrative change, and especially getting to people that may not feel comfortable talking about their mental health challenges, let alone seeking support of it. So we were really grateful to be connected to the Ad Council's work.
The Ad Council, for those of you who don't know, is a nonprofit organization that's been around since the 1940s and creates public service announcements with the help of sponsors and donated airtime. You might recall Smokey the Bear, or more recently, the Love Has No Labels campaign. The Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation partnered with the Ad Council to create a mental health PSA under the Love Your Mind campaign that focused on Georgia sports.
We became familiar with a campaign that they launched last year called Love Your Mind. This is a national campaign that featured athletes from all different types of sports. The messaging around it is really highlighting the stories of athletes, role modeling that these athletes who we think of as like very strong and very successful, and in many cases very tough, that they in fact are also grappling with mental health challenges and have their own tools for what the campaign calls, getting your head in the game. So the goal of the campaign is to not only increase awareness from those role models, so to further reduce the stigma around talking about mental health, but then driving that awareness to a website that provides lots of tools and support and connects people who need it to resources. So we approached the Ad Council and said, okay, you've got the national campaign. What would it look like to do a Georgia version? We ended up highlighting Bijan Robinson and our coach Morris from the Falcons, and then 3 players from the University of Georgia. And we wanted to do that partnership to bring the message to more people.
The ad, which you'll hear a clip from in a moment, highlights the importance of practicing mental health.
Everyone has a ritual, that small thing we do to keep us focused.
But what do you do to keep your head in the game?
To drown out the self-doubt and support your mental health.
One thing that's great about having both the national campaign and the Georgia campaign is the Georgia campaign will both connect to national resources that could be of interest to people, as well as Georgia-specific resources. Ultimately, in our mental health work, we want people to be connected to the services and support they need if they're having mental health challenges. And we want people who might not have an immediate mental health challenge to learn tools that they can use when they are feeling that way. There's so many tools that are not just for professional athletes, but all of us every day.
Beth talks about how Arthur Blank's philosophy on sports and community influences their work, as they look for ways to improve overall mental health with philanthropy.
We are always thinking about the intersection of mental health in sports in some way. Arthur's talked about this, is that you think about bringing people together in a stadium. And we're in a crisis of loneliness and disconnection. Yet you can get in a stadium and you don't know whose politics are in the seats beside you. You may even have come there alone, but the sense of community and belonging that sports brings people together. So we're especially excited about the notion of highlighting athletes in their role.
Beyond larger projects like working with the Ad Council, Beth explains how a multifaceted approach to improving mental health includes funding entrepreneurial leaders who are addressing the problem, like Babson alumnus Teddy Sourlis, founder of the nonprofit Men's Mental.
When you have a philanthropic strategy, you don't just invest in one organization. No organization has 100% of the solution. So we're going to look at a variety of ways to invest our funds. So if you look at the Ad Council, that's a really, really large organization with national reach. And Teddy's work is complementary to that. It's very much on the ground. He's going from college to college, and it's very direct work that he is doing. So I think one thing we look for in philanthropy is where is the work happening? For Teddy's work, he is getting proximate. He's getting as close as possible to the players and their mental health challenges and the tools and messages he can offer them. That's a different altitude than something like the Ad Council, and they're both of great value.
What do we do in these situations when it gets hard? Breathe, take some deep breaths.
Teamwork is like when you have other people to play with and talk about stuff. We motivate our teammates, so if something happens, we ask them, are you okay? Or if they missed the ball, we say it's okay, we could try again later.
You're hearing a little bit of a group therapy session led by licensed clinicians that combines team sports and physical games to give kids a safe space to learn mental health skills and explore challenging feelings. This is one of the many programs run by an organization called Doc Wayne. And today we'll speak with the CEO, David S. Cohen, a Babson alum and entrepreneurial leader in the mental health space. His organization, named after pediatric physician Eli Wayne, is based in the Boston area, but has run programs through its Champions Network in over 30 countries, reaching more than 1 million kids across the globe.
One of our flagship programs has been around sport-based group therapy, but we also provide traditional individual therapy as well. We've found a way to engage kids differently, and sport has been that vehicle to make that happen. Our sport-based group therapy program, in essence, looks like a gym class. Kids are referred to the program and they go through an intake assessment with our clinical team, and then they are part of a group, we call it a team. It would be in a gym or a room that could allow for some activity. They're run by our clinical team. So we have licensed mental health counselors as well as social workers. And we also have a team of master-level clinical interns that work with our clinical team. We call everyone a coach. So no matter who you are, whether you are a visitor or you're a clinician, you're a coach. And that's done with intention so that the kids see us in a different light. Kind of like when many of us grew up and had mentors and coaches around us. And the program runs through our curriculum, which is based off of common therapeutic models. And so kids come to the gym, they are active and they are shooting hoops or kicking a soccer ball or running around. And then when it's time to start, they get in a group, and that's when our clinician brings them in a circle and they check in with each other. And then from there, they go off and do some skills and drills that are related to the curriculum, and then they will play. Later on, they will then come together at a halftime and process how things are going for them, and then they play some more, and then they come back at the end, and that's where they have a chance to acknowledge somebody, praise somebody, say something positive, and basically prepare for leaving, and then the next session that will happen the following week. But it's really fun, and that's one of the things that's very important to us at Doc Wayne is mental health support and therapy and services. They can be fun, and the play in the gym allows for conversations with those adults that they have learned to trust, but it allows for more depth and breadth to conversations, and hopefully for our clinical team allows them to uncover maybe what's going on in that child's life and how they can support them in the best way possible.
David says Doc Wayne is working to help alleviate a growing problem where more mental health services are needed for kids than there are clinicians to provide them.
Well, we're in a global crisis, and there's lots of need out there, and there's more demand than the supply. So there's more demand for services, and there's less supply of clinical professionals that are out there, so wait lists are growing. I mean, the work that our team and those that are in this field, I mean, what they do is remarkable, and it's stressful, and they're often hearing stories or learning about things that are challenging. And so how do we recruit more people, take care of those that are in this space, compensate them better for the work that they do? I mean, they are doing incredible work, and it's so needed, and our communities need it.
Doc Wayne sees sports-based group therapy as an opportunity to break down barriers to entry for many kids who need services.
We have found a way to break down various barriers to clinical services through sports. And, sports is a common language, especially something like soccer. You may not speak the same language, but the active component of it, the ability to work as a team or work on your own craft or your own skills can happen non-verbally. And so what we've done is breaking down stigma of mental health services. We reduce the inability to travel. So we go to the schools or the community-based settings where we work. You don't have to be an athlete to be in part of our program. You just have to be referred to us and come and have some fun. We think that mental health support and services don't have to be such a challenge, and they can be enjoyable as long as you've found that trusted adult that you can talk to and navigate things with. Getting kids who may not have been willing or able to be part of a therapeutic session is a win. And the key for us is getting kids to show up. A lot of kids may not want to go and sit in an office and talk to someone, though that we do have that option here at Doc Wayne. But capturing their attention and finding a way to enable them to learn a lot of life skills by being part of a team, by being a part of a group, and doing it in a way that can be fun is, I think, how we have sort of changed the game of mental health therapy. This past year, we announced that through all of the work that we've done over 13 years, we've reached over 1 million kids since our inception. It's a big number, but there's a lot more to do. And that's our hope is, how do we get from that 1 million to 2 million? But really, we want to have high impact. We want to know that we're capturing their attention, and we're doing whatever we can to help them or help adults that are going to help them.
Like many nonprofits, David cites funding as one of their biggest challenges and talks about why funding partners who are in it for the long haul is important.
We are still a business. We have to generate revenue to support the programs and the mission of our organization. And so you need to find a way to adjust the buckets of resources coming in so that you can run your organization. And so that's what we've done. I mean, we bill third party for a lot of the clinical work that we do. We also have some contracts, and we have some relationships with some state agencies and some other partners. And so we try to have as many revenue streams as possible so that in any given year, we're not relying on just one. We don't have shareholders, so we have donors, and we have partners. And in some years, partners may go away. And so the uncertainty and trying to budget for that on a fiscal year is a challenge. And you have people that actually deliver and run the program. And so it's critical to take care of them, to create a culture where your team can thrive. And it's not just about delivering a program, but it's also trying to make sure we have the resources so that we can develop our team and allow them to grow with us and learn new things and be the best worker they possibly can be so that we can deliver the best product now and grow for the future. It comes down to being confident with the mission and being able to talk about it and being able to have a relationship with folks. We're not necessarily an organization where if it's a transaction, it's the best fit. The best fit for us is building those relationships where you're part of the team. If you invest in our organization, then you're investing with us hopefully long term, and you feel like you're actually having an impact and you're not just writing a check and saying good luck. And that's really critical for us. It's not a quick fix, and I'm often asked, what is a typical child in our program? And I say we don't have a typical child. We have individual children who have their own stories and their own challenges, and they work individually with their coaches, even though they're part of let's say a group in the sport-based group therapy program.
David hopes that by continuing to speak out about their own mental health struggles, elite athletes can have a positive impact on kids and mental health service providers like Doc Wayne.
What we definitely have learned is that the mental health challenges that are out there, it doesn't discriminate, and it's impacting everyone, no matter where you come from, who you are, what you look like, the color of your skin, where you live. There's so much need and there's so much pressure. When we started it with Doc Wayne years ago, there was no one really talking about it. And, it was almost like when Magic Johnson came out and talked about his journey with HIV, the world didn't necessarily know how to react to it, and we weren't educated. We didn't know if it was safe to be around someone that had that disease. You fast forward, mental health has come a long way, and you have college athletes, you have athletes in high school, you have professional athletes that actually are talking about their own challenges, and it's okay to not be okay. Then it's okay for me to talk. And in our program, the coaches do reference pro athletes and articles and videos of what people are saying that are out there. So I think that it's very helpful in opening the doors. It's helpful for families maybe culturally that normally wouldn't allow for any type of treatment for their child. That's only going to help the industry. It's going to help people, and it's going to help organizations like a Doc Wayne so that we can continue to be there for more people for years to come.
Kicked it out for Sourlis. Tried the three-pointer and he knocked it down.
Babson alumnus and former basketball player Teddy Sourlis is no stranger to mental health struggles. He lost 2 friends in high school, and then, as a college athlete, he experienced 2 injuries that temporarily sidelined him. Teddy says that the injuries really took a toll on his mental health because being a basketball player was such a huge part of his identity. But being a healthy athlete also came with unique stressors, a rigorous schedule, and the pressure to perform at a high level. Then, on top of all that, there was the pandemic, and it was all part of what made Teddy want to take mental health seriously and help others going through similar challenges. Using the entrepreneurial mindset he cultivated at Babson, Teddy has become a leader in the men's sports and mental health space, heading up an organization called Men's Mental that focuses on the mental well-being of collegiate and elite athletes. At home in New Jersey, and with grants from organizations including the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation, Teddy is now working to expand the resources and reach of Men's Mental. And just a trigger warning, we will be discussing suicide in this segment of the podcast.
There were so many different things that crossed over between sports and entrepreneurship and class and just the striving of excellence. That's really what Babson's about. And just learning that entrepreneurial mindset of being able to hustle and be resilient and adaptable. When Men's Mental started, it was a class project, and the task or the original objective was to create some sort of a social media platform where you can bring light or bring awareness to a certain topic or a certain cause that you cared about. And based on my own personal struggles and, again, losing some of my friends, mental health was clear that it was my calling, and this is something I wanted to run with. And in the origination of Men's Mental, it was solely supposed to be a clothing brand. And fast forward 2 years later, we have now given these athletes a platform, given talks and provided resources for these athletes, but now we've taken the next step and evolved into an actual tangible resource for all of these athletes. We've now been able to provide each one of these athletes digital online resources directly from your computer at any time during the day, 24/7, virtual therapy from clinicians, counselors, therapists, psychologists, or psychiatrists. The company that we use is called MindFlow, and MindFlow's lists of counselors were all former athletes themselves. So when we think about male athletes being able to take this next step and seek help, being able to remove some of those barriers or being able to remove some of the stigma that may come from a male athlete thinking about therapy and saying to themselves, why would I start at ground zero? This guy or this girl doesn't understand what it's like to be an athlete. This guy doesn't understand the pressures or the feelings or the time constraints that I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So this removes all of that and kind of just gives them a leg up when going into a session where they can understand that this person across the screen also understands me because they were there. They were an athlete themselves. And that's something that I'm really excited about and just honored to be able to offer, because being only a clothing brand to now being an actual tangible resource for these athletes is honestly beyond my wildest dreams.
A lot of the work Teddy does is directly interfacing with athletes and coaches. He says that to even get to the point where many male athletes will consider therapy, they need to see that it's okay to talk about mental health struggles and that a larger community of athletes facing these issues exists.
It really starts of bringing the conversation to where male athletes are most comfortable, most vulnerable, and that's on the basketball floor, on the field, the football field, baseball field, or on the track. So bringing these conversations, whether it's a town hall or just a Teddy Talks, which is what I call it, to just share my own story, because again, to my earlier point, sometimes it just takes somebody like myself or just somebody in general to open up about their own story for then it to have that domino effect for other men to feel as comfortable and as open to share their own story or to share what they're struggling with. To be able to give now over, I believe the number is 568 male athletes from Division I, Division II, Division III collegiate athletes to now professional athletes, to give them a platform to share their story and to be included within a community of men, again, from across the country, connecting a Clemson basketball player to a Florida State football player, to unite them because they both struggled with the same situations or, went through similar adversities. It's been really cool to now, almost have them and teach them how to use each other as a resource or just a sounding board. Locker rooms were never built for that level of vulnerability. So bringing these conversations to where these athletes are most comfortable, it's been a really awesome experience.
Teddy says that he's learning to navigate the world of grant funding that makes all his people-driven work possible. He shares a little bit about how the funding goes beyond just dollars, but also opportunities that drive professional development, like a leadership retreat he was able to attend because of the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation.
The individuals over there are just absolutely incredible, specifically Beth Brown and Natalie Gilbert, and obviously Mr. Blank being a Babson grad himself. And to be supported by such a prominent foundation, it's such an honor. And most recently in October, to be in Montana with about 20 other founders or executives who truly cared about people, I think is one of the most transformative moments of my life, because they all do it for the right reasons. Listen and respond is a huge component, a huge skill that all entrepreneurs need to have. Because when you think about entrepreneurs, we solve problems. And if you're unable to listen and respond, you will never know what that problem is that needs solving. So being able to listen to the community, to know what the community that you are serving needs, is probably my biggest takeaway from being connected and engaging with the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation for over the last 2 years.
Teddy says that the mission for Men's Mental will always be intensely personal and focused on saving lives.
The reason I'm still here today is because of my coaches and my teammates and the professors and wonderful people at Babson who truly saved my life. Before stepping on campus, I lost a couple friends to suicide, and mental health was always something that I had struggled with internally, and being in this world, being able to still put 2 feet on the ground in the morning, still be able to be here breathing and living. My purpose became more and more clear by the day. For me to be able to share my story and my vulnerabilities, I think that allows for other men across the country to be able to share their own story. And I really do believe that if I can help anybody along that process, that's my goal.
Thanks for joining us on From Problems to Possibilities, The Mind on Sports. Thanks to our guests, Beth, David, and Teddy. We're inspired by your entrepreneurial leadership at the intersection of mental health and sports and the support you're bringing to people everywhere. And please, if you or someone you know is experiencing a mental health crisis or thoughts of suicide, please call the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988 or find help with the resources listed in our show notes or contact a mental health professional. Thanks for listening to From Problems to Possibilities, Entrepreneurial Leadership in Action. And if you've been enjoying this first season, like, subscribe, and share this podcast with your friends. We're so grateful that you've joined us along the way. I'm your host, Maddie Poirier from Babson College here in Wellesley, Massachusetts. Until next time.